So the vicarious redemption by human sacrifice is an immoral preachment with very immoral implications, as is compulsory love coupled with compulsory fear.
If a God is really omnibenevolent, he should be the last thing anyone should fear. Apologists sometimes say that people should fear Yahweh because they're sinners deserving of punishment. But a God that is all good and all loving would be one who improves everyone and damns nobody.
Name me a moral action committed by a believer, or a moral statement or ethical statement uttered by one that could not be made or uttered by a non-believer. I've asked this in a number of venues and forums now. I'm going to keep on asking it. I've not yet had an answer.
I once heard an apologist argue that worshipping God is a moral precept that only believers could utter. It's of course not clear how this is a moral thing to do, but even the assertion that it is moral to believe in God can be proposed by a non-believer. There are atheists who find their own atheism to be a moral failing and who strive to become believers.
He presumed that God does not exist. He presumed the Christians made it all up. He presumed, let's take one of his seemingly firmer presumptions. Scientific laws are inviolable.
That's not a presumption, it's true by definition.
I said earlier this was an article of faith, and it is. There is no scientific law at all for which we could say that there are no exceptions to it.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Let's take one of the most fundamental principles of science. Light travels in a vacuum at the speed of 186,000 miles a second. How do we know that? We've measured it. 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, 1,000,000 times. The philosopher David Hume says even if you measure it 50 million times, you cannot draw an unrestricted general conclusion from any amount of empirical tests. And why? How do we know that on a distant star 5 million light years away, light travels at that speed? Do we know?
No, we believe it because we inductively infer it. Like many apologists, Dinesh is under the misapprehension that inductive inferences are the same as articles of faith. Do you really think that the belief that a God exists is as justified as the belief that if we measure the speed of light somewhere else in the universe, it will be the same as it has been the last several million times we have measured it?
We do not know. We guess. We assume. Science is based on those kinds of assumptions.
Inductive inferences are not guesses or assumptions.
So it is the skeptic David Hume who destroyed this idea that scientific laws admit of no exceptions. And if scientific laws do admit of the possibility of exceptions, miracles are possible.
A scientific law, by definition, does not admit of exceptions. If what we believe to be scientific laws all admit of exceptions, that would mean that there really are no scientific laws.
The way the atheists portray it, God is meanly flinging the atheist into hell. Wrong. We hear from Christopher Hitchens, he doesn't want God. He's shutting himself out from God. He doesn't want heaven. He sees it as a form of abasement, a form of humiliation, a kind of unending parade with flowers in which he's going to be handing out garlands. He doesn't want it. In short, the gates of hell are locked from the inside.
Does that mean that you can leave whenever you want? Because if it doesn't, then even if the person makes the mistake of locking themselves in, how the fuck does that make them deserving of eternal torture?